Hey, welcome everybody. It's Dante at SMG War Relics, and welcome to another edition of Who the Fuck Was This Guy? No, that's not the name of this show. This is just I was doing some paperwork. I was scanning paperwork. I usually have like I group I group my days up based on like types of items sometimes, and like I put paperwork like in a pile, and I put it off to the side because it's not really fun to scan paperwork, and it's kind of just something I don't like to do. So I put everything in a pile and I procrastinate on getting to it. And then when I finally get to it, I start scanning stuff. And then after I scan everything, I go to list it and I start kind of researching the item. So I kind of do it a little bit backwards. But in this case, I just got to this KVK2 document, or War Merit Cross with Swords. Swords. Mitch Schwerten. Schwerten? Who the fuck? Yeah, you silly Germans. Anyways, so this is like a $60 certificate, maybe less, maybe more. You know, it's a little bit of variables there, but nothing crazy. But I do make it a habit of checking my signatures, just to see what's on them. And sometimes you get lucky. And turns out I was really lucky with this one. So this dude that we see here with the signature right here. Now, I'm not a signature expert, so I can't just read them. I'm like, what is that? Is that a Hinterman, Linterman? Turns out it's Lindemann is the guy. Now, I got lucky because I typed in a couple of different variations of what I thought the signature would read, and I found him on a list of German generals because he's a general major. So you can go back and you can search that kind of stuff. So I found a list of German generals, and I just kind of started plugging away different spellings of what I thought the name might be. We definitely knew it was like Mann, right? Based on this, and then possibly a T or a D, and definitely an I and an N right there. The first letter is kind of like, what is it? H, K, L. So it's an L, basically. So Lindemann, however you want to pronounce it. So yeah, who the hell is this dude? Well, it turns out he's an Operation Valkyrie conspirator. That's right. This dude on this lowly, plain award document is a Hitler assassination attempt conspirator, co-conspirator, I should say, because there was a lot of guys involved with Operation Valkyrie. So I had never heard of this guy. So I dug into him a little further, and turns out that he is it's a hard signature to find. So the dude, basically, I'll summarize it, but the dude basically got killed by the Gestapo. Yep. So so that's why his signature is so rare. And it turns it into a $1,500 document. Now, of course, that's on the high end, but you know what? I like this document, so I don't mind keeping it. But $1,500, it's yours. But it's a rare signature because the guy died, and he's a Knight's Cross holder, so it kind of hits two buckets. It's a Knight's Cross collector item, signature, collectors like this would like this, and then also anyone who's interested in the assassination attempt of Hitler, specifically Operation Valkyrie, especially would like this. So he's one of I don't know, would you say like a dozen generals or high-ranking guys that were involved in everything. So let's read up on his career. Now, I took a couple of snippets from this is Wikipedia, which we know Wikipedia's some stuff's accurate, some stuff isn't. So you kind of have to go back and check the sources and whatnot. So you've got all his World War I stuff, but then it gets into World War II. Lindemann served as commander of the 132nd Infantry Division from 42 to 43, before being appointed as Chief of Staff of the Artillery. And Lindemann developed contacts with conspirators against Adolf Hitler, including General Helmuth Stieff. And following the assassination of Hitler, it was proposed that he would read conspirators' proclamation to the German people over the radio, but he did not appear at the Bendler block. I guess that's where he was supposed to do it. On 20th of July, 1944, in order to do so. So I guess, they had planned this radio event right after the assassination. Should it have happened properly and Hitler died, there was going to be a radio, mass radio type event to go out to everyone to kind of set the tone for what was going on and what had happened. And he was supposed to be one of the guys on the radio. Here's where it gets really interesting. After the plot failed, the Gestapo came to arrest him. Lindemann tried to jump out of a window. However, he was shot in the leg and stomach and later died in the hospital from his injuries. So we don't really know what he's jumping. Is he jumping out the window just to kill himself, or is it like a one-level window, ground level, and he's just trying to escape? We don't really know. I couldn't find much information on it. But it specifically says here, died in the hospital from his injuries. After standing trial for helping Lindemann at the People's Court, Eric and Elizabeth Gloden and Hans Sierks and Karl Marx were all sentenced to death. They were executed by guillotine. Oh, shit. That's crazy. In prison in 1944. So then I found this from the German Resistance Memorial Center. I didn't even know this was a thing, so this is interesting. Now, of course, there's a lot more on, what's his name, Stauffenberg and all those guys, like the main guys from Valkyrie. But there was a whole thing about Lindemann. So Fritz Lindemann fought, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is like the same stuff we already know. So let's see what we can find down here. So a little more information. It says, after the unsuccessful assassination attempt, Lindemann managed to first hide with relatives in Dresden. When his involvement in the plot was discovered, he was given shelter in Berlin by Eric and Elizabeth Golden. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Who helped persecuted Jews as well. The Goldens were sentenced to death and blah, blah, blah. Following a denunciation, the Gestapo arrested Fritz Lindemann on the 3rd, seriously injuring him. Again, died in hospital shortly afterwards. So we get a little more information about who helped him, but says he died in the hospital. So then I find this other article from Spartacus Educational, which has all pretty much that same information, but actually it goes into detail about the 1942 group of men that were involved in the attempt, or that I guess that started to put together the shadow government or whatever they were trying to do. I don't know what you want to describe it. I'm not a historian. I'm doing the best I can here. The conspiracy was called Operation Valkyrie, right? And these are all the main guys, right? But Fritz isn't listed in here. But it goes on to say, General Fritz Lindemann also joined the conspiracy. It was agreed that on the death of Hitler, 3 speeches were to be broadcast over German radio. 2 of the speeches were to be directed to the armed forces and were to be delivered by Field Marshal Erwin von Witzleben and General Ludwig Beck. The other addressed to the German people, and it would be given by the conservative politician Karl Gordler. Ordeler, I don't know, who would come out of hiding once the coup had been confirmed. General Erich Belgebel, chief of signals of the OKW, would cut down all communications from Hitler's headquarters following the assassination, and General Karl Heinrich von Stuppnagel, the military governor of France, would arrange for the troops under his command to arrest all Gestapo and SS officers. And I think if you watch Operation Valkyrie, the movie, I think that bit of stuff is in there. So it kind of just gives you a little more background to that if you go back and watch the movie. But it doesn't say what Lindemann was supposed to do. Okay. Now, I read somewhere else that Lindemann was supposed to give a proclamation of like demands or like maybe set the tone for the new government or something. So he was supposed to be doing something in there. We just don't really know what. And I went back. I actually asked Bill Panagopoulos this because he's pretty knowledgeable about signatures and guys who are involved in this sort of thing. And he said that he's not aware of any information that came out about what Fritz's role, Lindemann's role, was supposed to be specifically. However, it was significant enough that he had to go into hiding and the Gestapo was after him, and then they killed him, right? Or did they kill him? So this is where it gets interesting, or even more interesting. Lindemann was to be involved in a radio broadcast, but did not turn up after attempted assassination of Hitler and went into hiding when he discovered the July plot had failed. Okay, we know this. General Major Helmuth Stieff was arrested and tortured. All right, so he was buddy with him. They were buddies. According to the Gestapo report, okay, this is a direct quote, I guess. The confession eventually made by General Stieff with the interrogations of Schulenberg and various others provide important information. Okay, so they basically gave up Lindemann, from what it sounds like, or told them what he was involved in or what he was supposed to do, or where he was. Although he did not give the name of General Fritz Lindemann and General Edward Wagner. Okay, although he did give the name of, yes, so this reads weird. Although he did give the name, it was later claimed that he implicated primarily only himself and others already dead. For example, he never gave the name of Captain Axel von dem Boucher, who he had helped in a previous failed assassination attempt. This is just kind of a jumbled mess here. Although he did give the name of Fritz Lindemann and Wagner. So he named them. So I don't know if the Gestapo did have much information on him. They just knew he was involved. Who knows? I mean, based on this, he would have been like a person of interest. So Lindemann went into hiding. He was tracked down by the police in Berlin. Now, this specifically says police and not Gestapo. So I don't know. They're related, right? But they're not necessarily the same. Lindemann tried to jump out of a third floor window, but was shot in the legs and stomach. He was immediately operated on so he might be tortured and brought to trial. 5 of those who had helped him while on the run had kept him hidden at various times between the 22nd of July and the 3rd of September, and they were executed. 2 of them were described as Jewish half-castes, and another a widow of a Jew. So these were the guys that were helping Jews as well that we learned. So, but here's what I don't understand. Here it specifically says General Lindemann, in October 44, General Lindemann went on trial with Julius Lieber, Adolf Reichwein, Theodor Haubach, and many others. He was found guilty and executed on September 22nd, 1944. So that contradicts all the other sources that say that he died in the hospital. So I don't know what the truth was. However, this gives a source, and it was a publication. I didn't put it. It is sourced material where the other ones don't list a source. So I'm more liable to believe that he was executed and he didn't die in the hospital. But see, this is how things get all jumbled up. One person writes something incorrect, and then all of a sudden it's on Wikipedia incorrectly, and all this stuff gets mixed up and screwed up. So I don't know if you've done research on this whole situation before, or you would like to research this more. It might be a fun thing to research, to find out exactly what happened to this guy. Did he die in the hospital, or was he executed after trial? So, but anyways, yeah, interesting stuff. Here's the guy. Here's his signature. Beautiful signature. Authentic, 100%. And it just came in on a little inexpensive award document. So it's for sale if you guys want it.